Hi, this is Alex Helmbrecht, the Sports Information Director at Chadron State College, and I'm sitting here this morning with Chadron State head football coach Jay Long. The Eagles had a tough 51-42 setback against number 5 Colorado State University Pueblo in Chadron on Saturday afternoon. It was quite an explosive game. Offensively for both teams, the Eagles ran 103 plays, gained 705 yards. That's the second highest total for Chadron State offense ever. Of course, the first highest total is the Eagles game against Abilene Christian in the 2007 playoffs. That went 3 overtimes, though. This game just was in the regulation time, 4 quarters. Pueblo ran 68 plays for 503 yards, so the two teams combined for over 1,200 yards of total offense. The two teams also combined for over 300 yards of penalties, so it was a well-played game, Coach, in one, I guess, definition of the word, but in the other, not necessarily so. So really kind of a different game.
You know, when you look at it, I mean, when we went back and watched film, you know, it was really, it was two good football teams out there playing football, and you know, when you look at our side of things, you know, basically the two things that really stand out was the amount of turnovers we had. We had 5 turnovers to their 1. And last Monday when we were talking, that was one of the things I thought would be a factor in the game was the turnover ratio. And then, you know, secondly was the amount of penalties. And, you know, in the game, it felt like it was really one-sided, that the flags kept landing on our side. But when you come back and watch film, they had 17, or we had 17, and they had 16. And you know, there was just a lot of flags in the game, and that does make things a little bit more difficult in regards to getting into a rhythm of things. And basically, there was a flag thrown about 1 out of every 4 plays, and you know, it's something that we addressed in our team meeting, and something that you know, that it's got to change in order for us to have success down the road.
There were a lot of big plays in the game, too, on both sides of the ball. A lot of long rushes, particularly a lot of long pass receptions. And as Coach mentioned, Pueblo, which is a very good team and an opportunistic defense, even though they allowed 700 yards, took advantage of 2 plays that both happened to be 70 yards. They scored on a 70-yard touchdown pass right before halftime that put them up 28-16 after the Eagles had just scored. And then they also scored early in the fourth quarter when the Eagles were driving in Pueblo territory when Darius Allen, the RMAC preseason defensive player of the year, returned a fumble 70 yards. So both of those 2 plays weren't necessarily back-breaking plays, but they were definitely pivotal.
Yeah, when you look at it in third quarters, when you know, we started getting some stops on, you know, defensively, and that was in a period where offensively we kind of stalled out, and we got real hot in the fourth quarter. But that third quarter was one where we needed to put some points on the board, because it would have been a changer in not only momentum but also you know, putting points up there to keep that score close.
Had a big day from John McClain, who had one of the best statistical days a player at Chadron State College, any position, has ever had. He set a bevy of school records. He completed 49 of 74 passes for 600 yards right on the dot, which is a statistician's best friend, an easy number to remember. He threw 4 touchdowns. He had a long touchdown pass of 84 yards to Nathan Ross, really on a pretty pitch and catch. But his favorite receiver for the day, Travis Reeves, finished with 12 catches for 98 yards. Cody Rose and Chapman Ham both had 8 catches. Cody Rose scored 3 touchdowns, including one of the prettiest touchdown passes I've ever seen caught in Chadron. It was in the east end zone, and he climbed the ladder for it and brought it down with one hand. He's kind of making a habit of making those jaw-dropping plays for the Eagles. He scored 8 touchdowns this year to lead the team. And then Glenn Clinton, who didn't necessarily have the day that he's accustomed to running the ball. He only ran for 53 yards and a touchdown, but he added 7 receptions for 147 yards. So he just a team full of football players.
Yeah, when you look at it, you know, John, we thought, you know, made a lot of great decisions. His pocket presence was really, you know, really well. And when you look at Pueblo, they're number 3, their defensive end. He's a special player. I would say he's probably the best D lineman that we've faced all year. I shouldn't say probably, he is the best D lineman we've faced all year. And he was giving us little fits up front. And John's pocket presence was just was amazing, and the way he moved around in the pocket and found receivers, and you know, and hit his checkdowns with, you know, Glenn and you know, and then Travis with 12 catches, and Cody with 3 touchdown passes, and then also, you know, Chapman had another 8 catches too, and you know, those guys you know, in our receiving core, the ball got spread around, and you know, and then they made some big plays.
John also had a huge fourth quarter. He threw for 275 yards and 3 touchdowns. So as Coach mentioned, the offense really did get rolling in that fourth quarter and made it a competitive game, although the score wasn't what the Eagle faithful hoped it would be. A couple other stellar performances, Coach, at the game. Zach Smith had another good day punting. He didn't punt very often, just had 2 punts, but both of them landed inside the 20, averaged 39.5 yards a kick. And Connor Casey, cornerback, played arguably one of his better games this season. He had 9 tackles. He entered the game with just 10 on the season and broke up 2 more passes.
Yeah, when you look at it, I mean, Zach, I've talked about our kicking game, numerous times, especially earlier in the season. And Zach now has put together 3, solid games punting, and I'm really excited for him. And that part of the game is so big in regards to field position and those type of things. And and then Connor, Connor's a football player, and Connor, was all over the field and was very physical, and was giving that effort that we needed to win.
Well, the Eagles are back at it this week with another game. Thankfully, it's close. The Eagles will play at Black Hills State Saturday. That'll be a 4 p.m. kickoff. The Yellow Jackets are kind of struggling this season. They're 0-5, 0-3 in the conference. They should have played 6 games by now, but that snowstorm that hit a couple weeks ago canceled the game between Black Hills State and Western State. I'm not sure if that game will be made up later in the year or not, but the Jackets have only played 5 games. Most recently, they played at Alamosa, losing to Adams State 49-43. So, Coach, certainly a team that you are going in expecting to do good things against, but you also have to kind of keep an eye on them after putting 43 points up against Adams State.
Yeah, when you look at Black Hills State's offense, I mean, they're very explosive. They've put a lot of points up on the board versus a few teams, and this last game they played Adams State right down to the wire. And then the other thing is that with our location, it's a rivalry type game, and with that being said, we got to make sure that we go out there and execute and do our job.
And, of course, it'll be an interesting experience probably for you and a lot of members of your coaching staff. Several graduate assistants for the Eagles have played at Black Hills State and were student coaches for you when you were the head coach there. And then defensive coordinator Jeff Larson was also the defensive coordinator there. So kind of a homecoming of sorts for you and several members of your staff.
It'll be, it's yeah, it is. It's one of those games where, I spent 9 years there and, really got to kind of cut my teeth as a coach at that place. And they gave me a great opportunity there, and I became a head coach there. And, so as far as, emotional ties, yeah, there is emotional ties there. But ultimately, just like anything else, as soon as that first play hits, we're, going after beat them.
Well, it should be an exciting contest between the two schools, and there's not a lot of miles that separate it, so it's a kind of a different RMAC road trip. I know you and your staff and players are probably looking forward to that, and it should be an exciting game. Hopefully the Eagles can get back on the winning track. Once again, that is a 4 p.m. kickoff. Thanks, Coach, and best of luck.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.